Welcome to this edition of At the Mic. I'm your host, Keith Malinak. This week, I introduce you to a relatively new friend of mine. We get to know the liberty-minded Laura Black, coming up next. First, have you ordered your American Pride Roasters coffee yet? Did you know that July 4th is not only the birthday of our nation, but in 1872 it was the birthday of America's 30th president, Calvin Coolidge. And this month, APR Coffee is celebrating the life of Silent Cal and the blend that first made me a fan of APR Coffee in general. I seriously fell in love with the Calvin Coolidge blend, not because it's named after my favorite American president ever, but because of how great it tastes. Remember, I was regularly buying APR Coffee long before they became the inaugural sponsor of this podcast. Do yourself a favor, try the Coolidge blend. It features a perfect mix of both light and dark roasts, which give it a nuanced, smooth attribute and also subtle boldness. This coffee will give you the boost that you need to, quote, do the day's work, as Coolidge would say. Right now, Silent Cal's 3-pound box follows in the spirit of his plan to lessen the financial burdens on fellow Americans. It's on sale for $40 right now. And if you use promo code ATM, that stands for At The Mic, you'll get 10% off your purchase. Head over to aprcoffee.com and use promo code ATM.
You're listening to At The Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production.
Laura Black is my guest this week on At The Mic. Laura appreciates America, what it represents, and after living overseas, she appreciates it even more. She and I sat down recently to discuss her life, the great Patrick Henry, and she enlightened me about an iconic TV couple. There's a big fact that I never knew, but today I learned about it on At The Mic. I really don't know how to describe you other than I know you from Twitter, and I met you 5 minutes ago. And you were here early, by the way. I appreciate that.
It is the antithesis of my typical behavior.
Wow. It's too big of a word for this podcast.
Well, every now and then I like to sound like I'm smarter than I actually am. It makes people take you seriously.
Does it?
I mean, that's what I'm told.
Okay.
So they say that being late to things is a trait of optimists because you think that you have more time than you actually do. Huh. And so you kind of laze about when you're getting ready and doing things. And so ultimately you end up showing up late. And that is any person that you talk to who knows me, who has had to have me show up to a thing will tell you, oh, Laura's always late. Always.
So you're an optimist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's okay, because
it's probably ill-advised.
That's why I'm on time everywhere I go, because I am not.
Because you're a pessimist.
Oh, absolutely.
Or a realist.
Definitely.
That's also.
Well, that's a good segue, because realism is exactly where I live.
Yeah.
And I think you do too.
Yes.
Based on the way that I first knew who you were, and I don't know how I found this tweet of yours, but it is pinned to the top of your Twitter profile, which is @FancyThis.
Yes.
Good. That's a really great Twitter handle. I'm surprised it wasn't taken. How long have you been on Twitter?
So I actually joined Twitter right when it started.
Okay. That's how you got it.
Yeah, but I didn't start becoming active until actually after Trump was elected, but I started peeking at it a little bit more because I was so tired of social media where I knew people in real life, because as politics became more and more tribal, friends and family members became more and more vocal about their positions on things. And I was like, oh, you're stupid.
Seriously, I have, yes, I've been there, and I've lost people in my life just based on stupid arguments.
Yeah.
But the tweet that caught my attention, that I often go back to it, it's so great. And you tweeted in January of 2020.
Yeah.
Just as the pandemic was really taking root around the world, there might have been a handful of cases in the U.S., and there were, I don't believe at that point, any lockdowns, maybe Washington State. I don't know. I think you were so far ahead of the curve on this. The tweet was, just a friendly neighborhood reminder that the government's favorite activity is to use fear to strip rights.
Yeah.
That may be the greatest tweet of all time, Laura, because it was so prescient. Look at what happened to our nation since then. January of 2020, you tweeted that out, and oh my gosh, has that come to fruition?
Yeah, I have spent a life where I've had something of a front row seat to just government organizations in general, and so that has been a theme that I have noticed over the course of time. And even if you pay attention at all to our own history, a lot of the behavior that our government has engaged in has been
a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, just a
would you
scotch,
say?
just a touch.
Okay.
So I saw, especially with COVID, I felt like here's an opportunity for them to really ride this wave of fear and see how far they can push the line of obedience and just kind of compliance, because I feel like, left, right, center, every politician is looking for power. So this is an opportunity to figure out, okay, how much have we been able to propagandize people? How far can we push this? And
it's been fun to see, huh? Year and a half later.
Well, it's disheartening for me because I thought, I'm from the East Coast.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, the coasts are for sure going to comply with all of this stuff because, they've bought into the lie that the government has their best interest at heart, and coastal folks are a little, left of center, and left of center folks they have a tendency to be a little bit more like pro-community, but they don't think about actually how the government negatively infringes on that ideology.
Right.
And the government will use that twist of a positive idea to benefit itself. And so I knew that coastal people were going to be like, oh yeah, we should be afraid of COVID and mask up and don't ask questions and comply. But
the writing was on the wall, that's for sure. And here we are.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, and it's that's fun. So you just mentioned you're from the East Coast, born and raised in Delaware, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it does exist.
It does exist.
I get touchy about this on Twitter.
Oh. So Delaware's got Rhode Island to kick around at least.
Well, barely. I mean, because Rhode Island, it's part of New England. So
Right.
they got people backing them up.
I see. They're part of a team.
Yeah.
Delaware's just kind of there.
Yep. Well, they're always in rivalry with New Jersey. And
Delaware has the strangest border up there, the way the little half circle that was meant to adequately separate the Catholics in Maryland and the Quakers in Pennsylvania. So what you end up is this strange little curve for Delaware.
yeah,
Is it the second smallest state?
it is.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah. But the first state
Yeah, okay, cool.
to
Hey, Caesar,
it's kind of a big deal.
I will give you Caesar Rodney, right?
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
But
Great founder who literally, like, on death's doorstep, made it to the... Anyway, we could... this is going to turn into a history show. But I will say, I give respect to Delaware.
yeah.
mean-
Well, you're the only one.
I mean,
I always get a hard time about it.
you got a college with the nickname Blue Hens.
Well, they're
That's
also
kind of a cool nickname, actually.
well, and also it's a really cool looking bird. It's our state bird.
Are there blue hens? Like, are they literally blue? Or don't give me this. They got like this tint of blueness that if you really squint in the sunlight.
Okay, this is really bad because it's like
I'm gonna have to Google.
I'm like, Delaware exists. We're a big deal. I don't know what our bird looks like.
Okay, well that's you now have a homework assignment. I'm gonna look here for the class.
Just what that's good of you.
I'm gonna see here, Google Images. Okay, that's fake. Hang on.
That's
See, this is dumb.
a cartoon.
It's gray. It's gray, and they're calling it blue. That's not. Is this blue?
But are you like one of these men who's colorblind?
Okay, don't go there. No.
I
My
mean,
wife and I do not see the same colors. That's for sure.
oh boy.
So I don't know. It's still a cool logo, even if the bird is gray. I guess gray hens didn't have the same ring to it. So
Maybe you
whatever.
found a picture of the female. They are less vibrant than
Why is
males.
that? It's like that with cardinals. It's like that
Because
with
they
all sorts of
protect the
animals.
nest. It's a evolutionary thing. They protect the nest, so they cannot be as vibrant. They can't stand out as much, or they would constantly be.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because okay, I'm sorry, my nerd bird watcher is coming out. If you look at
My son is a huge bird nerd. In fact, we got him a shirt that says, or maybe it was Santa, I forget. Got him a shirt that said, "I love." What's the study? Entomology. What's?
I don't even know that.
You don't even know? Oh my gosh, who's got the nerd now? Let's see. Hold on. I'm gonna let you tell your story here. Study of birds. Hang on. Study of birds. Boy,
We are really off the rails.
Ornithology.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
I thought that was the study of O.J. Simpson.
Oh
But
gosh.
ornithology, that's what it is. So
I should get that for my son. He likes to too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but like all of them, goldfinches, blue jays, like if you look at the males versus the females are always less vibrant in color because they hang out on the nest.
That's the opposite of like female humans,
Well, I mean, we have different roles.
right? You wear jewelry
Yep.
and fingernail polish,
Yep.
and you go and get your toes all girdled up.
Yeah. The displays are different. We don't have to be as I mean, technically I guess we protect the nest, but
But yet you're all
I'm at the top of the food
purdied
chain.
up, and you say, "Look, don't come to the nest."
Don't do it.
I don't know. That made no sense.
Mixed messages.
Edit that out. So let's see here. You have. Okay, wait. Your math is wrong here.
What?
Okay, listen to this. Here's the question, y'all. Any siblings? If so, how many? And then you said, "Oh no, my math is wrong." My math is always wrong. I don't know if you know this about me. It's called Keith math. So anyhow,
I was going to say girls can't do math, but
3 brothers, 1 sister.
3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay, so 5 kids total.
Yeah.
Where do you fall as far as the birth order?
I'm the oldest. You'd think they would have stopped after me, broke the mold. However,
See, normally, my guests that are only children, boy, this is. I promise I haven't broken this out today. This Jim Beam apple. I'm kind of.
you swear.
Yeah. Normally, my guests that are only children still doesn't feel right.
Only child.
They think that their parents had the perfect kid, and so they stopped.
Right.
Which is the case for me, since I'm an only child.
Naturally.
So, but they decided that maybe you weren't perfect, and they just kept having kids, huh?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so,
They figured out how it happened after the 5th one.
what kind of gap in age is it between you and your sister?
6 years actually. So
Okay.
my parents had myself, and then just about 2 years later they had my brother, and my dad was done because he's like, we got one of each. This is fine.
We're good.
And my mom,
Oh no.
who she is the second oldest of 5.
She was all dolled up in fun colors and stuff.
Yeah, I know, right? She was not she was nesting, and so she had to fluff up.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I talking about birds? Anyway,
You never know the direction that this podcast is going to go. We've gone from government lockdowns to plume colors. Anyway, go ahead.
no, she wanted a third and worked really hard to convince my dad, because there are 6 years between me and the twins. Because God has a really great sense of humor.
Oh, I see where
Because
this is
my
going.
dad was
Oh,
like,
no.
all right, fine, one more. And my mom was like, cool, all right. And then 11 weeks into her pregnancy, my grandmother was like, wow, you're really big, which is a lovely thing to say to a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
I hear they like that.
Oh, it's our favorite. And so she went to the doctor and kind of jokingly said, my mom thinks I'm having twins. And he looked at my mom and was like, well, let's find out.
Oh no.
And so it was twins.
So that was kid 3
3
and
and 4. Yeah.
So how did the 5th one happen?
Well, my dad always says, you have 3, you may as well have 5. So I think.
Does he?
I think he was like, whatever. And then 2 years later, the baby was born. 2 years after the twins. But
Oh wow.
to be, my mom was like, he was the easiest baby, because after twins, everything is so simple because there's only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So You got a big family.
Yeah,
Are
definitely.
y'all spread over the nation, or are they still back in Delaware?
Actually, we were all spread out for a really long time, and my brother Jake just moved back from Albuquerque. He's in Delaware, and my brother Ben, who was in the Army, went from Kansas. They're living close to his wife's family in New Jersey now, but I mean, still, they're all kind of close to my
Yeah,
parents.
kind of up there. So you're the one that escaped recently to Dallas.
Yeah, yeah.
So how'd you pull that off?
So, I mean, it's we're gonna go back now. So my husband used to be a police officer,
Okay.
and we lived in Maryland for a while. He was a Maryland state trooper, and
Bless him.
I don't know if you know this, but they pay them in beans and rice. So you can't live a life on beans and rice. And he wanted to do something a little bit more intellectual and a little bit more investigation based. So he applied for a couple of different jobs within the federal government and landed a spot with the State Department. So
Okay. It's based here.
no, that was so I'm like taking it way
I
back.
was gonna say, like, how much of this is like government secrets I'm gonna have to edit out?
No, none of it. That started the process of us just kind of moving all over the place because his job, when he's stateside, he does one thing, and when he's overseas, he runs like embassy security programs. So we've moved like 7 times in 7 years, basically.
Do you even bother to unpack at a certain point?
I'm really good at it.
Really?
I'm really good at packing up, and I'm really good at unpacking.
I mean, see, radio, you move around a lot, and there's been places where I knew, not going to be here long. And we just kept boxes just packed up, and we're like, not messing with that room.
It seems like those are the two modes of thought when it comes to, frequent moves is not even bother. We had a neighbor when we lived overseas in Haiti who literally just had boxes all over. He was like, I'm not even unpacking because oftentimes, depending on the country, when you're in embassy housing, they provide your furniture and everything like that. So if you have clothes, there's no need for you to really unpack anything else in your life. So
Yeah.
he just stayed boxed up for 2 years.
No, that's, and I can't imagine moving to an island and having to drag all of your stuff there. And we're going to get into your Haiti ordeal
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
And your husband's name's Luke.
Yes.
How many times do you get the whole Luke and Laura thing? I mean,
All the time.
Really? So it's not just me because I'm old
No. Well,
and I
okay.
know the reference to General Hospital
Right.
couple? Okay.
So my mom, I mean, this sounds so bad. My mom wasn't like a soapy or anything, but I grew up watching her watch Days of Our Lives, but I always ended up watching,
Her stories. Mama's stories.
yeah. But then I watched General Hospital, so I knew who Luke and Laura
All right,
were.
yeah.
But he had no clue because he grew up overseas.
Okay.
So when we started dating when I was 18,
Oh, wow.
and
Oh, wait, hold on. I mean, now you're 29,
oh,
right?
you're so cute. I'm 36.
Okay. All right.
I love when people say I'm 29.
Yeah, okay.
It's my favorite. So we went out somewhere. We were like with a group of friends, and somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, you're Luke and Laura," and he was like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I have to explain this to him because soap operas.
Right.
It's never just as simple as, oh, this is a daytime TV couple. It is no. They met because he raped her, and then she fell in love with him, and then they got married.
Hold on. Stop.
Yes, and their wedding was the most watched daytime TV episode of all time. Still is. This is why people don't like soap operas.
Just describe the scene right now.
Keith looks very stressed.
I had no idea. What kind of backstory is that?
Yes, I know.
I mean, I didn't watch the show. I
Yeah.
just knew of it. It
Yeah.
was a cultural phenomenon. They
Yes.
were on the cover of TV Guide,
Yeah.
every magazine. That
But
was...
that's why.
Oh, no.
Because he raped her and
Okay,
she
all
fell
right.
in love with
This
him.
is- oh, no.
See, now you're questioning everything.
I will never make another Luke and Laura reference for the rest of my life now.
Well, when I told him that, he was like, "You don't tell people that's how we met, do you?" No.
Oh, that's...
Yep, that's what happened. Our story is identical.
So you're a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a job that is very tough and doesn't even pay beans and rice.
No, I don't even get beans and rice. Nope. It
And
is
how many kids do you have? 2?
2. Yeah.
I love their names. Tell us for us.
Marcus and Isla.
Okay.
Marcus is 9 and Isla is 6.
Very awesome. And how are you liking staying at home? And like, do you homeschool or not that?
I
far
used
into
to homeschool.
Okay.
So when we lived in Virginia, my son went to kindergarten there. And when we moved to Haiti, Marcus was 6 and in first grade. And the curriculum that his Haitian school was using was aggressive. Haitians take their education very seriously. And so the school that he was going to was using an American homeschool curriculum
Okay.
for their education. And he was not up to par coming out of an American kindergarten in one of the best school districts in the nation. If you can afford it, even in any minimal way, your kid goes to a good school.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and a lot of times Haitian families will have, like, if they have family who lives in the States, those families are sending money back to their Haitian family who's still in Haiti to help provide a life for them
So
that's reasonable.
what took you guys down there? Was it your husband's job? Was it security related then?
Yeah. So he worked for the embassy and we lived on the embassy housing compound.
And tell us what happened to y'all while you were down there.
So we got down there in 2017, I want to say. I think it was May of 2017. And they had just finished an election. And so we were told, the worst is behind Haiti for a little while until the next election.
Sure. We all know how that goes, right, America?
Yeah. And through the course of time, I ended up only being there for a year and a half. And over the course of that year and a half, the political violence and stress and tension just kind of continually ramped up. And the ambassador will make a decision based on information, given to her from my husband's office, whether an evacuation is advisable. And so we were evacuated 3 separate times for political violence, but the last one.
Wait, so your kids were young?
Yeah.
How does Mama Bear garden the nest handle all of that kind of stress?
Not well. It was, so after the first evac we were evac'd 4 times, but one was for a hurricane. So that was like,
Sure.
That's natural. Like that's nothing. After the first evac for political violence, I was very anxious about staying there. And I didn't feel comfortable doing things. We were limited on travel as it was anyway, because it was so tumultuous.
Sure.
I mean, like, a lot of the protests were paid for by other people other Haitians who wanted to cause a ruckus. And a lot of them were very peaceful. Like, there were people who were outside every Thursday protesting outside of the embassy. And so that kind of stuff was stuff you just got used to. Yeah. And, the embassy security community were very open about, okay, hey, listen, this is going on right now. Don't travel here. Don't go to the beach this weekend, like that kind of stuff. And so, you kind of I took those things seriously because I was already, the good grocery store was 5 miles away, but it took 45 minutes to drive there because cows and people and, just all kinds of stuff in the road.
If you think the roads in Fort Worth are a nightmare, you should live in Haiti, huh?
Yes.
Tell us about this.
You will develop an appreciation for American roads, even though, as somebody who leans libertarian, I'm always like, stop talking about the stupid roads. It's still...
What should we talk about?
Everybody loves their roads and their infrastructure, but it's like, guys, go to Haiti, drive on a road just once, and you're going to be like, please take me back to America and all the potholes.
So how long were y'all down there total?
His tour was a total of 2 years, but I was there with the kids for a year and a half.
So in a year and a half, 3 evacuations because of civil unrest.
Yeah. So the second to last one, was towards the end of our tour anyway. And they were saying things like, if you're within like 6 months of the end of your tour, we probably won't even bring you back. And I was celebrating because I'm like, I don't want to go there anyway. I felt so uncomfortable. I just didn't enjoy, I didn't even feel comfortable going to the grocery store because it was like, a friend of mine was talking about, she and her husband had been there with the Peace Corps. And so they knew Haiti very well. And she was talking about a time that he was out driving and a protest just developed right in front of him. But he knew where he was going. And so he could just kind of back out and drive away and there were no issues. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I'm still relying heavily on my GPS, which barely works, and like hoping that I can get somewhere at a decent, out of the way if something like this happens. And I'm not even guaranteed that. So I was very, very anxious to return, and happy that she was saying, the ambassador at the time, and just kind of the information that was coming from the embassy was saying, you will likely not return if you're this close to the end of our tour. And then after probably a month and a half being stateside and anticipating that I was just going to remain stateside for the duration until my husband returned from Haiti. And this is my interpretation of what I was told. Basically, Haiti got its feelings hurt that the embassy communities, families, we didn't trust them to keep us safe. And so our families were out of the country. And because the ambassador was trying to make political moves, because to her credit, she is one of the few career ambassadors in the entirety of the Foreign Service. So her career is obviously very important to her, more so than, in my opinion, embassy families. And so because Haiti had its feelings hurt that, we didn't trust them to keep us safe, she brought everybody back against the advisement of the security team because they knew. And so 2 weeks after bringing us back, it was a Saturday, we were kind of all sitting out by the pool, and a girlfriend of mine was actually coming back to the States to be with her mom because her mom was going to have some surgery. And so she asked me to come to her house with her so that she could kind of go over with me. She wanted me to tell like her housekeeper and to keep her husband on track while she was gone and make sure he was fed and all that kind of stuff. And so we were standing in the doorway of her house and all of this gunfire popped off right outside. She lived at the front of the compound. And so all of this gunfire went off, and there were 3 little kids that were right by the front gate. And, because her house was right by the front gate, we could see them playing, and they looked really scared. And the guards, because it's a guarded compound, right. The guards were looking at us and they were like, you need to get away. And then the kids just started screaming and crying. And so my girlfriend took the one kid and ran him to his house. And then I took the 2 girls and, took the one back to their parents, to the one little girl back to her parents. And then the other one found us like in the street. And I didn't know where my kids or my husband were at this point because they had been at the pool, and I left them at the pool to, go do this. And our house was at the very back of the compound. So I just ran back there, and I could hear my daughter screaming, and my neighbor was holding her, and she had been in the pool because my husband at this point had to go take care of all this drama. And so my neighbor was holding her, and she had been in the pool, and he's just like soaking wet because she's dripping all over him and screaming in his ear. And my son was crying and, is daddy going to be safe? Is daddy going to be safe? And we just kind of had to lay low in the houses and avoid windows and all that kind of stuff. And then we were evacuated 3 days later.
Was that for the last time or
for the very last time?
Okay.
Oh, and I wouldn't have gone.
I was going to say,
if she brought us back, I would not have gone back at that point. I didn't even want to be there to begin with. So to have endured something like that you couldn't have paid me to go back.
Yeah.
Not after that.
I bet your family, your parents, your siblings, I bet they really stress out when you're in a place like Haiti. Where all have you guys lived around the world?
Actually, just Haiti.
Okay.
So the particulars of my husband's job are that he can do stateside work and he can do overseas work. They're congressionally mandated to leave the country every 6 to 8 years. It used to be 6. They just increased it to 8.
Leave? Like you could just go on vacation?
No. Go to an overseas post.
Oh, boy. And how long is that stint got to be?
Just 2 years. You can, or I'm sorry, he could do a 1-year post at a danger post. So like in Afghanistan or Pakistan.
I was about to ask
Yeah.
you, do you get much say in where that would be? And are you guys due to move overseas anytime soon?
So I'll answer the first question first.
Okay.
The State Department is a very, I'll shake your hand, you shake mine kind of organization. So if you know the right people, you can get to the right places.
Okay.
My husband is a keep your head down, do your job kind of guy. He's not an elbow rubber. He's not a palm greaser. And so he is good. He's efficient, but he doesn't schmooze. And so Haiti was what we got. So, and coming out of Haiti, we didn't get our first choice, despite the ambassador advocating for us, and despite the fact that we had just endured what we endured. We couldn't even get North Carolina. We got Buffalo. Go from the Caribbean to snow. It was great.
So, okay, just doing the math in my head here, which is always a dangerous feat for me. Are you about, 4 years away then from having to go overseas again?
So after Haiti and after Buffalo, we decided that
Haiti and Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm sure the folks in Buffalo listening to this podcast are like, why are you going to lump us in with that? And plus, it sounds like she liked Haiti more than us.
In some ways, the sun shines in Haiti. It doesn't shine in Buffalo.
I did. You know what?
In the summer.
I won't say I almost took a job, but I could have had a job in Rochester at one point. And I think I did like it might have been 60 seconds on Google.
Yeah.
Before I was like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I remember like the centerpiece of Rochester was like this, almost like this little waterfall in town that was like, I don't look like it went 3 feet. And I thought, if that's your centerpiece, I'm a pass.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Like West New York is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. It is such a shame that politics have destroyed any reason that you would want to live in that state. Because, I mean, because I'm an East Coast girl, I love New York City. I love Boston. Like, I love all the cities. I love Philly. Like, I love going to those places. I love the culture. I love the environment, the atmosphere. But getting to see that portion of New York was even just so cool, because it was like, everybody, you hear New York, you think Manhattan, and it's breathtaking. When you're driving through the state, you're like, this is lovely. I can see why people would live here, except for that the sun doesn't shine ever.
Right. Are you a few years away from having to go overseas again?
So after Haiti especially, we were like, we're done with the State Department. We don't want to be in this job anymore. We don't like the moving every 2 years, the lack of community, and the fact that you really are at the mercy of the government and the ambassador and their whims. And so he spent basically our entire 2 years in Buffalo looking for other jobs and found one. And so that's what moved us to Dallas at the end of January. We were like, get us out of here. We're done. Plus also, all of this was like at the height of COVID, and going through COVID in New York was wretched. So I'm like, I don't care where it is, but I want to get to a red state. And at this point, I'm not nearly as picky as I would have been in the past about where I want to live. So not that there's any, I'm not knocking Dallas.
What's wrong with Dallas?
I am a full-on coastal girl. So I was like, I love the South. I love North Carolina. I love Georgia.
Then you're going to love Galveston. I mean, that beach is just pristine. Oh, yeah, baby. No, sorry. Sorry, Galveston.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, I like the town.
Now the hate mail.
The beach is just...
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, I've always enjoyed beaches and stuff, and so that was my motivation for...
Have you ever lived in Charleston? Have you ever been to Charleston, South Carolina?
Yes.
Okay, we lived there for 5 years, and once you spend more than 5 minutes there, you're spoiled for life. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I love it. When I was listening to your grandmother, and she's like talking about Savannah, and I'm just like, I miss Savannah. It's one of my favorite places. So that's, for me, that was why I wanted to kind of focus our energy and attention on those states. But
But you ended up in Texas.
yeah, and
That's good.
Yeah, well, and I ended up having a ready-made community here. And,
Yeah. You and the you got like a little posse. You know, like you like a club on Twitter, don't you?
A little crew of.
Did you want to give
great-
anybody a shout out while you're here?
There's a list of them. It would take so much time.
And you're gonna end up leaving somebody off
I know.
accidentally, and you're gonna hurt somebody's feelings. So
yeah,
we'll just
it's like the dwarves. You can't name them all.
right. Okay, I understand. Okay, so tell us about your parents.
So they have been married. This year will be their 40th anniversary.
Oh, cool.
They met and married very young. My mom was 19 when they got married. My dad was 21, and they waited a couple years before they had kids. That's me. And my mom was born and raised in Delaware. In fact, she grew up in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. And then my dad is originally from Western PA, the Pittsburgh area. And then my grandmother didn't want my grandfather working in the mines or steel mills or anything like that. So he took a job with, I want to say like GM or Chrysler or something, and that moved them to Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And he lived there just outside of Manhattan until he was about 12. And I think that's when they moved to Delaware and lived in the same neighborhood that my mom lived in.
Cool.
And that's how they met. So
Y'all just kept moving east as,
Yep.
as a family.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you bucked the trend because you hit the coast and you're like, crap, I can't go any further east.
I know,
so-
I've run out. We got to go west now.
We'll get back to our conversation with Laura Black in just a moment, but first, let's talk about pain. The team at Dr. Monroe's hear from so many people who have had their lives positively impacted from his products, including a gentleman by the name of Carl who suffered daily with arthritis in both his hands and his knees. Some days it could take him up to 2 hours to get fully dressed with his painful joints as he could not handle the buttons on his shirt. That is no way to live, and that's where Dr. Monroe comes in. Dr. Monroe only uses pure hemp-derived CBD, THC-free, but he also uses his 20-plus years of experience in developing FDA-approved tissue repair and regeneration products. Well, after 3 days, Carl felt the pain start to diminish, and he could move his fingers better. Every day, he saw improvement, and after 2 weeks, he could dress himself in minutes, and the pain was nearly gone. Not everyone reacts the same way. Most will feel immediate relief, but the point is, even in extreme cases, Dr. Monroe's pain cream can work. These aren't just products, they're solutions. The entire team, they've designed the most effective group of CBD products on the market, and they continue to design new ones. And right now, Dr. Monroe's CBD is proud to announce a partnership with the Child Help Organization. They're thrilled to announce that 20% of every sale at drmonroescbd.com is going to go toward the initiatives of Child Help, where abused and neglected children are given hope. Please head to drmonroescbd.com today. You have a lot of respect for your parents.
Very much.
Your dad, you talked about how he worked so hard to make sure that you guys were fed, basically.
Yeah. Because they met and married so young, and neither of them have a college education, and then, accidentally having 5 children puts a lot of financial pressure on a family. So, and my mom stayed home because they wanted her to stay home. Ideologically, they believed that was the best choice for them, but also she couldn't have made enough money probably to offset the cost of childcare. So it just made more sense for her to stay home. And
that was kind of an inspiration for you later, correct?
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, my mom was the mom of moms. She, in spite of the fact that I use a lot of Friends references in life.
Oh, you have
My
to.
mom's a Monica. She is super clean.
Yeah.
But she did stuff that I don't even let my own kids do. Like, she would let us play with Play-Doh. I'm like, that stuff is of Satan. Don't bring that in my house.
Oh,
it
that
makes
gets
a
in
mess.
the carpet.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes, I hate it. So
Okay.
she was just that very ideal mother.
So do you think that, because you appreciate your mom
Yeah.
and her choice to stay at home and raise a family, do you think that your kids will appreciate you? I think my kids appreciate, because my wife stayed at home for the longest time before she ended up getting her Master's of Divinity and went on to be a pastor.
Yeah.
But there was a long time where she was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And I know my kids, even if they haven't explicitly said so, they appreciate all of the time that they had. Do you think your kids will get to that point?
I hope so. I mean, it's definitely
It's a thankless job.
yes, and it's
important.
unique. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The
I mean,
society is falling apart at the seams. We need good parents to be available to their children around the clock. That's
Right.
where we're at as a society, never mind just as a family unit.
yeah, and I think especially too, just in those early formative years,
Yeah.
that constant presence is just a comfort. Also,
You cannot prepare them enough for the world. I can't imagine being a kid right now.
I know.
I feel so badly for my kids.
I know.
And what awaits them.
I know. It's interesting because I think a lot of dads especially worry about their daughters, but my husband and I talk a lot. We're very worried for our son
Yeah.
because I just feel like men are under attack right now. That sounds so dramatic, but I just feel like men are under attack. The idea of masculinity, the idea of leadership, the idea of protector, provider, all of these things that we used to value about men and masculinity are things that they're just brushed aside as patriarchal or toxic or whatever. And I'm like, please give me all of the toxic masculinity. This is the stuff that protects and preserves societies. It's not that women aren't important, because they are. You cannot overstate the value of women and femininity, but to pretend like, oh, we've got this, girls, we don't need the boys anymore, is foolishness.
It almost seems like you're referring to roles.
What?
Right? I love this, though. You list a hobby as Twitter. I've never thought of Twitter as a hobby, but I'm probably guilty too.
Yeah.
Twitter, well, in fantasy football.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's legit.
Yeah, so I mean, those are my...
It gets competitive.
But that's true about... Yeah, I'm just... this has been discussed on this podcast before. I'm the commissioner of a league. We've been around since 1999.
oh, wow.
And I'm the most annoying owner because I'm constantly badgering the other owners in the league for trades. In fact, I've asked a couple of guys on this very show for trades during the interview. So no, but Twitter is definitely a hobby, and
Yeah.
you definitely do that well.
Oh, thanks.
But you also enjoy reading.
Yes.
You recently read a book called Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about?
So
I didn't even bother to Google it. Sorry.
no worries. I mean, it's been out.
Fiction?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been out for a couple of years now, but it very quickly became my favorite read, and so I've gone back to it several times since then.
Okay.
I actually, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing.
This makes for a good at the mic story. Then whenever they start by, okay, this is so embarrassing, but here's the thing.
So every now and then I will watch clips of The View to see
Wow,
what
it already is very embarrassing.
I know, to see what everybody's screaming bansheeing about.
Uh-huh.
And so, but it was a summer reading segment that they did, and Meghan McCain recommended this book, and the way she described it, I was like, oh, this actually sounds really interesting. So I picked it up and almost immediately was hooked, because the author, this was her first work of fiction. Prior to that, she had only ever done like nature writing, and so that came through.
It's an interesting leap.
It was but the story that she told, it was like, woman, you were made for this.
Oh, wow.
Because the story was so beautiful and it was so well written. There was like a little bit of mystery and of course romance, but then also just the overwhelming, for me, it seemed like a love story to North Carolina and like the marshland and stuff, because the way that she wrote about it and described it, it was, you could feel and smell where you were.
Oh, wait.
And it was just really beautifully
like
done.
marshlands and stuff?
Yeah.
'Cause that stinks.
Sometimes,
I don't like that smell.
Sometimes, but not always.
At low tide?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Oh yeah, that can be rough.
Okay, so the book was written during high tide. We'll just say for the record.
That's what we'll pretend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Is there going to be room for a follow-up book on that, or what do you think?
I just want her to keep writing fiction because she's so good at it. So I every now and then, I haven't done it recently, but every now and then I'll Google her and see if she's working on something else, just because I'm like, you've got to keep doing this. Like she's so good.
You list crab legs and hush puppies as your favorite comfort food. Do you spend a lot of time at the Red Lobster then?
Oh, no. That's not real. That is fake seafood. I will die on this hill.
So where does one go to get good crab legs and hush puppies?
Anywhere on the East Coast. Well, that's not entirely true. Lots of good places.
It doesn't help me nor you, considering
we're trapped.
We live in Dallas.
My husband has a rule: you don't eat seafood unless you can see the sea, and I live my life by that. Because it has never steered me wrong.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking I will never eat seafood again then, apparently, since
Nope, don't do it.
I don't get to the ocean
Get
much.
you a coastal town, and then you can get some seafood. Don't Jesse Kelly all over this and eat Red Lobster. That is garbage.
Wait, does Jesse Kelly like Red Lobster?
Yes, he's always tweeting about it.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, she skipped that one on the list, so we'll keep moving. I literally, so I just got glasses.
Oh.
And I'm not
Welcome
used
to the club.
It sucks. And they're they set me up with these the progressive lenses.
Oh, okay.
And it was like I literally thought I was buzzed every day because I couldn't tell, okay, wait, my eye's going that way. No, it needs to go this way. Oh, dear heavens. So I took them back and they gave me bifocals. I mean, I'm rolling Ben Franklin style now. And it's like that I knew the line was going to be there.
Yeah.
But it's never where I want it to be.
Yeah.
So I can see really far or really close. And then there's this in between, like where I'm sitting now with my laptop and my printed up notes here. And I'm like, okay, should I push it out further to read it? Do I need to pull it closer? Oh, now I got to move my eye.
Now you're doing the grandpa thing.
I mean, seriously, I can't stand it. I'm not used to these things. So I don't even know what the heck I was going to ask you. This is where the podcast should be on YouTube.
Well,
there should be a camera in here so everyone could just see me tilting my head up, tilting my head down. Dear heavens, I can't decide.
It would be most entertaining.
Let me see here if I can read my handwriting now. I took some notes here.
Now that's a problem.
I couldn't read my handwriting. I had 20/20 vision. Ask Pat, who I scribble notes on the prep over there. Let's see here. Hang on. Hold on. I'll be right back with you there, Laura. Just I don't know. Watch TV over there with while I read through these. No, so if you could go back in history, I love this answer.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick Henry, huh? Tell me why.
Well, so I'm a big fan of liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the benefits, I guess, of homeschooling my son was kind of getting to delve a little bit more into American history. I mean, my dad is a big history buff. So, nice. I mean, like most kids went to, I don't know, like the beach and amusement parks and stuff. And my dad drug us around to like Civil War battlefields and stuff like that. So, not that I didn't enjoy it, Dad, I love you. But so you're raised in that environment. My dad's like, just, he loves this country and he's a big fan of, some of the founding fathers. And so, when I read and studied a little bit more about Patrick Henry, you start to realize like a lot of the liberty that we enjoyed was a result of him and his philosophy of.
Oh, catch that past tense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just his ideology was what pushed forward the idea that no, these things are not given to us by the government. They are supposed to be protected by the government.
Right, that's the rule.
They're inalienable. They're not given to you. You cannot take them away, or you should not be able to take them away. And his philosophy on liberty, I would just love to meet him and talk to him and find out what prompted a lot of his movement to push for those kinds of things.
I mean, he would have totally retweeted your 2020.
I hope so.
I often think of the founders in the context of a Twitter and social media. I think Ben Franklin would be a boss.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, think of how many tweets of his would be retweeted by intelligent people.
Yeah.
Patrick Henry would he would probably rant tweet.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Well,
Tom-
he's rolling in his grave right now.
Oh, yeah. Thomas Jefferson, he wouldn't tweet often, but when he did, it would be like a thread.
Yeah.
It would just go on and on and on. You're like, all right, we got it, TJ.
We got a 25 post thread here.
But how do you think that because between this conversation that we're having now
Yeah.
and when it does get posted in the not too distant future, governments don't rest.
No.
Okay. What is going to happen between now and then? And this is not a political podcast per se, but I'm just fascinated by this because you bring up so many. I mean, let's go back to the original tweet that led me to having you on this podcast and knowing who you were.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where it all started. So you can speak to this. How do you think the founding fathers, if they were alive today, what would they be doing in 2021 America, do you think? I mean, would they be arrested?
I think a lot of conservatives who toe this line of just comply and it's like, no, the whole idea behind America is non-compliance. Mm-hmm. It's we don't have a king, we don't have a ruler, we govern ourselves. And I have seen so much talk from conservatives also in the last year and a half that's like leaning toward just do this, just, get on board. This is all for, we're in this together. And
reminder, 15 days to flatten the curve.
Right. And it's not even just that. It's that you can't have conversations about police. You can't have conversations about war.
You can't have conversations about sports.
No.
Nothing is free of politics in our society. And that is enough to drive anyone insane.
It's true. And that's like, for me, I'm on Twitter because I enjoy the political discourse and finding my crew of people who kind of view the world a little bit more broadly than just I'm team conservative or I'm team lefty or whatever. It's you just kind of pull different ideas from different places. But no, I mean, and the divisiveness that we have seen sowed by the government, especially in the last year, has been frustrating and disheartening. And I can't even think of another adjective, but it's
not like comedy.
No.
You don't need a rule of three there to make your point. I totally got it.
Thanks.
I understand.
Two was plenty.
And you're terrified, if you're like me, for your kids.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just going back to your question about like the founding fathers, I think modern day conservatives and modern day leftists would equally be pissed at them because you see people who are advocates for liberty have been, you don't care about grandma and you want people to die. And it's like, no, you're missing the point of this. The point of this is that the government should not be compelling behavior, not to this extent. When you're talking about wearing masks and telling businesses that they have to shut down, they have to close their doors and risk everything without any kind of consequences for the people who made these rules and implemented these regulations. It's so frustrating and so disheartening. And people on both sides of the aisle politically have been okay with it.
One phrase you never hear anymore is that could never happen in America.
Yeah.
When's the last time you heard that? I mean, seriously, like think of the things that we've gone through and think that if 5 years ago someone described the scene in America in 2021, you would have said, nah, that can't happen in America.
Yeah.
No one says that anymore.
No.
Anything is possible.
Yeah. Well, after a celebrity becomes president, it sort of eliminates all other disbelief in what is a possibility. I mean,
So I want to ask you, because you listed one of your regrets was not going to college.
Yeah.
For real?
So
it doesn't seem like you would be the kind of person who would get much out of college. Am I wrong?
Well, so I'm definitely, if you pay attention to my Twitter at all, I'm super critical of college in the current era. I don't want my kids going
Me either.
unless they want to be a doctor. Like if you actually
Sure.
need to learn
That's where I am.
a valuable
Right. I don't want-
college-worthy skill.
Even if you're my kid, I don't want you operating on me without an education.
Thank you.
But at the same time, I am not willing to spend money
No.
to unravel 18 years of helping my kids understand the value of freedom
Right.
and all that I have taught them in the way of liberty and who the founding fathers were and why our system of government is superior to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to go into debt so that lifetime of work can be unraveled in 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's just like I loved school and I loved learning. And I think there are aspects of going to college and sitting in on different lectures, especially like I probably would have gone for something that would have mounted up debt for me so high that I wouldn't have been able to undo it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you would have gone to the government and said, please pay off my loans.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Isn't that the thing to do now?
That's exactly how I was raised. But I just wanted to keep learning about things that I really loved, like English and history and stuff like that. So that is where my regret lies. Also, I don't know if you know this, but in our country, college is taken very, very seriously. And so if you don't have a college education, therefore you are unintelligent. So it's very frustrating to feel like, and this has happened to me, where you're treated like, does she really know what she's talking about because she doesn't have a degree in something useless?
Right.
So it's that kind of, well, and also not everybody, obviously, but some of the educated in this country are incredibly condescending and have this elitist mentality that they have to be smarter than you by virtue of the fact that they spent $100,000 on a useless education. So it's that kind of stuff. I don't know if you can hear my bitterness coming through, but it's that kind of stuff that I've encountered that's made me be like, all right, well, fine. I have a bachelor's degree in so-and-so or in such and such. And so that's why I'm allowed to have this conversation with you, because I know just as much as you do, because I sat in on whatever lecture at whatever college hall or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just
No, and I think in my case, because I'm in broadcasting, and it probably opened up the first door.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, you prove yourself.
Exactly.
And I'm so sick and tired of, this is what I can't stand. A lot of people will say, I don't know anybody. You know, it's who you know. And it's just a bitter cop-out. Okay, well, that's true. However, if all of the people that I've made impressions on throughout my career, living around the country, working at different radio stations, yeah, I would have known a lot of people, but if I stunk at my job or I made a terrible impression, then it would have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
So yes, my contacts have made a big difference along the line. I won't lie about that, but those contacts would have served the exact opposite purpose if I'd been a terrible person or a bad employee along the line. But I do think that as far as college educations go, especially in a field like this where it is hands-on
Yeah.
with whether it's a technical skill, keeping a show on the air, editing promos, anything like that, doing research, I think that maybe a college education opens that first door. But then after that, man, it's on you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing too, is I am very supportive of education that is centered and focused around the field that you want to go into. So I don't broad brush the idea of college as a bad thing.
Right.
It's just, you better know walking in what you want to do.
Or else you're wasting your time.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't also, because I mean, my parents couldn't afford to pay for my college, and I was going to have to do that, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was like, I'm not going to go in here and just lollygag around for 4 years, not knowing what I want to do with myself, and just be like, well, I'm learning English and history, and like I'm gonna turn that into something. No, you're not. You're not going to turn that into something, you know. So, it wasn't like I didn't have the support of my dad's like, you can be whatever you want to be, you can do anything that you want to do, and it was just like, okay, but also I don't want to have all of this debt, and I don't want to waste my time and energy because I'm 36 and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. It's one of those things where you're just like, it is the smarter thing for me to choose to just kind of enter the workforce and figure things out from there. And
I will say it was a fun experience of mine at the University of Nebraska, where I learned on editing software that was created in Ogallala, Nebraska.
oh,
I hated it. I hated it. And I thought, okay, I just got to learn this, get through school, and make everybody happy. Look, I can edit on this thing. And then I moved to Atlanta, and they were using the same software. And I thought, two things. I thought, wow, I guess I really did need to learn this. And the other thought was, why are they using this software? I can't stand it. Moved to Houston, same software followed me there. And then I think it might have been, gosh, it feels like I was still using it in Omaha. Like 10 years later, I was still using that same software that was invented, that was created in far western Nebraska, that followed me everywhere. So as I sit here and I think through my college experience, I thought, okay, well, all right,
that was
that.
worthwhile.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I needed to learn that. But generally speaking, you're absolutely right. If it's not specific to your field, all you're doing there is you're a sitting duck for Marxist professors.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And that's the thing, is it used to be this, place where ideas were discussed, and they were all different.
Now they're safe spaces.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And it's like, no, knowledge is not safe. Knowledge is powerful. And the more you acquire, the more dangerous you are in insofar as you can no longer be controlled. And I think that is kind of the shift that you're seeing is, elites want to control the population, and it makes for a really stunted education.
You've got your phone there.
Yes.
You want to tell us what's in your Amazon cart right now?
Oh, gosh.
Share with the rest of us and see what's in
I wasn't probably groceries.
Yeah.
Well, okay, listen. Whole Foods delivery has changed my life.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
That's a good thing?
Yes.
Are people using that? I felt like they weren't, and now maybe they are?
All the time.
Wow.
Because it's one less store that I have to go to. Literally.
Yeah. Who was I talking to recently?
Oh, okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Egg bites and eggs.
Are those like fake eggs? Faux eggs?
Well, no. Have you ever gotten the egg bites from Starbucks? They're made in like a sous vide or something.
Look at me.
They're Listen.
Do you think I go to the Starbucks?
Change your life. Go to Starbucks and get you the bacon Gruyere egg bites. They're delicious.
I'll try.
And they're
it on
like
your
keto friendly. Yeah.
Because see, that I used to. It's such a long backstory, but I used to have to go by a Starbucks every day. It was on the right-hand side, okay, and I would stop in there because I got hooked.
Yeah.
I got hooked on the daggum Danishes.
They're so good.
And me and the folks behind the counter there were like, I had them trained where they knew, put it in the warmer for 12 seconds. Not 10 seconds, not 15 seconds, 12 seconds. Oh, crap, it's that jerk that's here again for the Danish. And then they act like they like you, so you'll give them a big tip. And anyway.
They do. They like you.
But I've literally not tried anything at Starbucks beyond the cheese Danish. But you're telling me I should go in there and say, I need to try your egg bites?
Yeah, the bacon Gruyere. I mean, they're my favorite. They make a couple.
You said bacon, so now I'm
right.
listening.
You can't argue with bacon.
No, okay.
But they also they make little protein boxes that have good little snacky foods in there.
But hang on a second. Because I hate standing in line at a Starbucks and feeling like I'm the only person within 20 miles not in the club. Like, I don't know. I'm standing there. I'm like, okay, I'll have the large. What's the large one? Which is that?
Both of my parents are like, sis, get up there, order for us. Yeah.
And then they'll say, and I remember there was a time when I had my wife write down what I like, so I kept it in my wallet. Okay, and so then I felt I'm standing in line, I'm looking at the cheat sheet, and I don't know where this thing got off to, and I certainly don't remember what was on it. Something about macchiato or something.
Oh yeah, probably a caramel macchiato. Everyone likes that.
No
it's
whip,
classic.
No whip light. I see. I don't even remember. I'm having flashbacks, like panic attacks, and I remember just standing there, like, okay, so I can see how I can do this, and then you get up there, and then you're like, oh crap, and you're like, all right, I'll look at the card now that I kept in my wallet because I
don't
thought
know who I am anymore.
Right. So help me.
Yeah.
I have pen. I live by the Post-it note. Tell me specifically what I should say so it makes it seem like I know what I'm doing when I go to order this bacon egg thingy.
You literally just say the bacon Gruyere egg bites. Gruyere is a style of cheese.
Gruyere.
Yeah, hold on. Oh man. Gruyere, I think.
Oh, no. Now it's going to be, I'm going to stand in
It's
line.
good cheese,
I'm not
Keith.
going to remember this conversation, like how you pronounce it. And I'm going to get it and I'm going to go, can I have the bacon Gruyere?
Yep.
Gruyere?
Starbucks is used to this. Nobody knows how to order there.
Bacon-
It's a secret club.
Yeah, it is. And I hear
But also
this-
get their cold brew because it's the best cold brew. I swear by it.
No.
Yep.
No. APR Coffee is the sponsor of this program, American Pride Roasters Coffee. Go to aprcoffee.com. Use offer code ATM, stands for At The Mic, and it'll give you a, well, I don't even know what promotion they're doing this month because I don't know when this is going to post yet. So just go there and enter it in and see what they send you. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to answer. Well, first of all, before I forget, at Fancy This on Twitter.
Yep.
That's where you are. Twitter at Fancy This.
Yeah.
Anywhere else? Okay. But here's a question that we skipped in the email, Laura. I'm sorry to tell you this, but
I'm scared.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give you one last chance.
All right.
Most embarrassing moment. She responds, "I have two, and neither are discussable." LOL. So do you want to discuss them, or are we done today?
We should probably keep those a secret.
Well, I want to thank my guest, Laura Black, for joining us here today on At The Mic. Have we covered everything else then?
Yep.
Okay, cool. At Fancy This on Twitter. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
It was great getting to know Laura. I hope you enjoyed our time together today. And if you do get a chance, please be sure to head over to atthemicshow.com and share what we do here with any friends you may know who want to be a part of fun conversations as we try to bring some calmer times to this crazy world. Next week, I'm going to sit down with Kate Hyde, another friend I want you to meet here on At The Mic. Someone who injured herself in a way that I thought only I was capable of doing. And that's next week on this podcast. If you're hearing today's show ahead of America's Independence Day, I hope, as always, that you'll go be free. And thanks for listening.
This has been At The Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production. Head to atthemicshow.com for archived episodes, sponsor information, and ways to connect.
Hey, did you know there's At The Mic Show merchandise now? That's right. Look for the shop button at the very top of atthemicshow.com. Or make it easy on yourself. Head to atthemicshop.com.